Hello, my name's Lawrence and I would like to welcome you to the upcoming Shopper Modal simulation session that you're going to be taking part in as a part of the Maastricht School of Management's Management MSc program. Really excited to welcome you to the program. I'm the creator of the Shopper Modal simulation, so I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce you to the exercise that you're going to be taking part in. So first of all, what is Shopper Modal? Shopper Modal is a consumer goods focused sales and marketing simulation game. It's an exercise in which you as a group of students get to come together, form competing teams to manage competing consumer goods companies, each of them seeking to put together the winning portfolio of brands, to create a portfolio of beverages which will allow you to make more money than any of your competitors will. So the game has been developed very much based on my life experience. I've spent most of my life, more than 20 years, working in consumer goods companies. And during that time, I've worked in insights roles, in marketing roles, and in commercial roles. And this is very much a simulation built based on real-world insights about how consumers actually do shop consumer goods categories, to bring out the integrated nature of marketing in consumer goods. That ultimately, when we talk about marketing, it's a whole bunch of different disciplines. It's about how you build the right brands, how you manage your prices, how you manage your negotiations and your relationships with your retail partners. It's about money. It's about the choices that you make on how much you invest behind media or trade terms or R&D to support your brands. And it's about money in terms of making sure that the money you're bringing in is more interesting than the money that you're sending out. So can you run a tight ship to actually turn all of your exciting, innovative ideas into exciting, innovative profit margins? So what is it that you need to do in order to win in Shopper Modal? So Shopper Modal is a cross-discipline tool, and different members of your team will take on different roles. You will have a CEO, a marketing director, pricing director, sales director, and finance director. You can have multi-hats. You can divide up responsibilities how you like, but ultimately, you need to excel in each of those different areas in order to ensure that when a consumer walks into a shop and they're faced with a decision about whether they want to buy one of these or one of these, they're going to end up picking up your one. And in order to do that, you have to win on every level. You have to have your products available where people want to buy them. If your products aren't in shops, you're not going to sell them. You have to have the right packs and the right prices to meet the shopper occasions that people are buying in. You need to have brands that are meaningful and that people are aware of, with a quality proposition or a brand image which resonates with the consumers you're selling to. And you need to manage your relationship with your consumers so that you build loyalty and build equity in your brand. So make it more likely that they'll keep on spending money on your brand, even if your prices are not the absolute cheapest in the market. And in order to do this, what are you going to have to do? Well, you're going to have to come together and work effectively as a team. You're going to have to take on different roles and yet all collaborate towards one objective. You're going to have to get good at using data, using insights, in order to understand where you're going to get the best bang for your buck. Are you going to get more money spending on television advertising or internet? Is it more important to get your product listed in Tesco's or Amazon? In each of these cases, you need to use the suite of insights available to you to help you make decisions. And hopefully, if you can make smarter decisions than your competitors do, to please your investors and to win, to show that your company is the most successful on your stock market. So, as I say, that's the idea of the game you're going to be playing. Now, I'm just going to switch over to the game itself, and let me drag myself down into the corner. Whee! Look, I'm shrinking. So, the game is accessed through any web browser. I recommend you use Chrome because, in my experience, it tends to be good at making sure it's up to date, but frankly, any up-to-date web browser will work. The website you need to go to, this should have been shared with you in your email, but you go to mckinsey.shoppermogul.com. It's McKinsey because I do a lot of training courses with them, and yeah, we just happen to be sharing the same server that they use. Now, when you go to that site, you'll be faced with a screen much like this one. First thing you need to do is log on. So go up to the top right-hand corner and click on Login. You should have received by now an email with your login password. So you log in using your Maastricht University email address, the password that you've been given, and hit login. Now, once you've done that, the system now knows who you are, and you will find that you've been allocated to the appropriate game and company. So, when you navigate the game, there are 3 different areas that you can dive into. There's the Explore World area, which lets you actually go and just sort of browse the category as if you were a shopper walking down the high street, say, just to see the information which is publicly available. There's a Manage Company area, which is where you go to put your decisions as a management team. You'll find each of your different directors has an office. And there's an Insights section where you can go to see the suite of data available to you to help you make decisions. So, if we first of all navigate to the Explore World page, now the game that you've been allocated to, you can see on the left what categories are available to compete in. So you're operating a company in an alcoholic beverage environment, and there are 3 different categories that you may choose to launch brands in. So we've got the beer market, the spirits market, and the wine market. So you can also, in fact, let's click on one of them. So each of them, if you click on them, you'll get a little bit of basic information about the category. So what does this include? So we can see at the top, for each category, there's some information on the core consumer type that drinks it, how elastic the category is, and at least at the moment, who's the leading retailer and brand in the market. Down below that, we can see what brands are currently available. Now, at the start of the game, every single one of the companies has one single brand. Over the course of the game, you can launch new brands, so this list will grow. So at the start of the game, there's 2 beer brands in the market. There's Man's Stout and there's Ice Light, both of which are mainstream brands, so neither of them is significantly cheaper or more expensive. One of them is good quality but plain stylishness. The other one is not so good quality but more stylish, and we can see they're made by different brewers. If you click on other categories, you'll get similar information for those, and again, you'll see that there are different numbers of brands in the marketplace at the start. Each category has a different core consumer, and each category has a different level of price elasticity. So, as I say, categories are the first choice that you're going to have to make as a company. You need to decide as a group which categories it is that you want to compete in. And in fact, this may be something that you want to actually start thinking about before the session begins. Yeah, so take some time before we meet for the simulation game to go through the available data, to look at what's available to you and have some thinking up front about which of these categories you actually want to compete in, which of them you want to aggressively grow in, which of them you want to just defend if you've currently got products there but you're not that interested in, and which of these categories you want to ignore. So I would suggest that's kind of your first decision, especially if you're the CEO of the company, to choose where your company is going to play. So what else can we see from the world page? At any time you can run a consumer intercept, so you can just stop a shopper who's going past and ask them some questions. Again, it's not a statistical exercise, this just gives you one random virtual consumer, but it gives you an idea of how this game works. In the game there are a few thousand of these virtual consumers who in real time, so every few seconds, they are going into virtual shops and making purchase decisions on what they want to buy. So in this case we can see we've stopped Ava. She happens to be a sophisticate, so somebody with high income, high expectations. She drinks beer. She normally buys her beer online, and we can see she has a certain budget available to her, and we can see information about her purchase habits. So at the moment, Ava has no beer and in fact has never purchased any beer, which is presumably because at the start of the game there aren't actually any products in the market which appeal to somebody like Ava. So instantly we've actually identified that there is actually some white space in the market here. Here's a consumer who would like something if we made something that appealed to her. So over the course of the game though, this would change, and as she tried a beer and liked it, she would adopt products into her repertoire of preferred brands, i.e. those ones that she'll tend to be loyal to unless something else is so much better or cheaper that she'll switch to another brand. We can also see which brands she's aware of from media that she's seen, and even a little bit about how she makes her decision. So whilst Ava is a sophisticate with high income, her decision logic is she will buy the cheapest acceptable product. Acceptable for her is quite demanding, but if there were two acceptable products, she would buy the cheapest of them. There are a number of decision logics in the game, but again, this is really to give you a flavour of how the shoppers that are being simulated are making their choices. So what else can we see from the world page? There's a stock market. Now you can go to the stock market in order to see how your company is performing versus your peers. Now in this game, we have 4 different companies in the game, and for each of them, up to this point, the game hasn't started, so no decisions have been made, and the stock market is therefore very flat. There's a few KPIs that you can look at, so we can see each of these companies, based on their one brand they currently have, they have a certain stable market share. They have a certain amount of revenue that they earn each month, a certain amount of profit, and based on all of this, each company has a certain market capitalization, which is largely based on the ability of this company to generate dividends and pay it out to their investors. Now, over the course of the game, as you make choices, you'll see all these numbers change. As you make investments, short term, your profits will dip. As you launch new propositions and people buy them, your revenue will rise, market shares will move. But you can very much use this stock market at any point in the game to see who's actually winning. You also have P&Ls available for each company. So we can see for Gaelic Brewers, there's a nice simple little profit and loss account available, and it's the same for each of the companies. So we can see in the last month and in the year to date, and also prior year, but we haven't yet got a prior year, what the market share of the company is, so what share of sales volumes they've got, and how that's converting into money. So how much revenue are they generating? Cost of goods, that's the cost to actually produce the product. So how much margin are they making after they've taken out the cost of producing the product? And then each of the different discretionary investment categories. So ATL, that's the money that you choose to spend on media and advertising. BTL is the money that you choose to spend on trade terms. R&D, the money that you choose to spend either on insights or on launching new products. And on overheads. Now, overheads you can't directly control, but they are related to the complexity of your business. So the more you expand into new categories, the more new propositions you come up with, your company's overheads will over time increase. The simpler you keep your business, the lower your overheads will be. And yeah, based on all of those, we get down to how much profit each company is making. So again, the exercise is about teaching marketing and marketing strategy, but ultimately success is a financial exercise. It's your ability to leverage your clever ideas to generate dollars in the bank and happy investors. So I'm going to come to the Manage page last. There's a set of buttons at the top that you can use to navigate. So we're next going to jump over to the Insights section. Now, the Insights is where you get to understand how your market is working from a data perspective. And the first time you look at this, you're probably going to see all of this as locked out and red. And that's because your company has to choose whether or not it's going to invest in insights. I strongly suggest, at least at the start of the game, that you say, yes, we want to buy all of the available insights, because otherwise you're going to be making decisions based on guesswork. So, as I said, the different areas you've got insights for. You've got insights about the consumers in the market, the brands in the market, the media channels, the way that people are shopping, the performance of different categories, the performance of different retailers, and how you're performing versus your competitors. Now, just to look at a few of these, I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of them are important to go through just to understand some of the core mechanics of the game. So if we start with the consumer segmentation, we can see on the left that we've got a map which shows where all of the demand is in the market. Now, when we were looking at the world page, we saw that certain categories were appealing to certain consumer types. Now, what we can see is actually in the market there are 4 different consumer types. We've got survivors, hipsters, aficionados, and sophisticates. And each of these consumers are sitting in a different part of the segmentation map. So how are we segmenting them? We're segmenting them based on their purchase expectations. So on the one hand, we look at how much do they care about quality. Now quality can mean different things for different products. It may be the quality of the ingredients, it may be the quality of the packaging, it may be, every category has its own definition of quality, but there's always some way of saying, is this a high quality product or not? So we see that some of the consumer types, so the aficionados, they care a lot about quality, as do the sophisticates. They're high up on this chart. On the other hand, we've got at the bottom the survivors and the hipsters who are not driving their decisions primarily based on quality. We also have a left-right split, which is based on the image of the people are purchasing for. On the left, we have those consumers who are conformational in their decision making. So they're not looking to show off, they're not aspirational, they're not looking to stand out with their brand choices. They're more choosing products that are, products about them, about their heritage, generally the simpler and generally the cheaper products. Again, in most categories you can think of products which, are not aiming to stand out as, the best or the sexiest, but the ones which are, good, honest products for simple people. That's the products on the left. So your survivors and your aficionados, those are the guys who are not really terribly focused on how stylish their products are. On the right, we have the people who are purchasing standout show-off brands. So these are the people who buy the BMW rather than the Skoda. In fact, let's call it the Audi rather than the Skoda, because they're basically coming from the same manufacturer with very similar ingredients, it's very similar parts, but they want to be seen to be in the ultimate driving machine, or the Vorsprung Deutsche Technik, rather than the very sensible, pragmatic Skoda, which gets you there but doesn't necessarily impress your neighbours. So that's how, when we talk about consumer segmentation, we're breaking down their expectations. Now, we can also see that every brand in the market has a proposition in those terms. So if we just focus on beer, we can see there are two different beer brands in the market at the start. We've got Man's Stout, which is a high quality, middling sort of stylishness brand. And we've got Ice Light, which is not particularly high quality, but is a bit more of a party brand, a bit more of an aspirational brand. Now, each of these brands are hoovering up demand from areas around them. Now, if consumers are too far from a brand, they won't even consider it. If they're close to it, then they will consider that brand to be acceptable. And obviously, over time, you're going to learn that certain consumer propositions are inherently more attractive than others. Now, you can also understand how well your brands are doing by looking at the brand scorecards that are available to you. Now, these scorecards are actually quite sophisticated. You can break them down by category. You can also break them down based on which consumer type you're targeting. So here we've got a scorecard for beer being sold to aficionados. And we can see that at the start of the game, with not very many brands in the market, both Man's Stout and Ice Light have 100% awareness amongst aficionados. However, whereas 45% of aficionados would consider drinking Man's Stout, none of them say that they would actually like to try Ice Light. 30% of aficionados actually have recently tried Man's Stout. No aficionados have tried Ice Light. And then you get down to loyalty. About 20% of aficionados say, yeah, actually, Man's Stout, it's a good brand. I like that. I would be happy to be seen drinking that. It's in my repertoire. Now, if we look at different consumers, we'd see a different shape. If we look at hipsters, we'll see that Ice Light is doing better, Man's Stout not so well. Again, I leave you to sort of dive into this yourself. There's also information about what the barriers are to people consuming it. So if we say, why is Man's Stout not doing better amongst hipsters? Well, we can say it has 100% distribution where they shop. That's not the problem. Its quality is perfectly good for their tastes, if anything too good, but its image is only acceptable to about 5% of hipsters. Most hipsters think that this is an inherently uncool brand, not aimed at people like them. So again, you can use these charts to get an idea of what kind of barrier your brands are facing to grow. And based on that, do you need to spend money on building awareness, on repositioning your brand? Is it the issue, the value for money, how expensive your brand is? Or is it something about the inherent proposition? Do they not like the image or the quality that your product offers? So again, if you're the marketing director, engross yourself in these charts and really, consumer segmentation, brand scorecard, and the media insights. These are all insights that you should be using in order to make your judgments on, where there's opportunities for new brands or how to improve the health of your existing brands. Now, I'm not going to click through all of these, but there is also information about how people are shopping, in which you can see what types of reasons they're going shopping for. So, there's some people who go pantry loading, doing big bulk purchases, social purchases, so typically out of home, online purchases, or distressed purchases where people are out of stock and need something for immediate consumption. And for each of these, we see different pack formats as being acceptable. Pack sizes in this game, very simple. They simply go from a 1-pack to a 10-pack. You can imagine a 10-pack. A 10-pack is 10 times as big as a 1-pack. Maybe that's a very big bottle versus a small bottle. Maybe it's a multi-pack. It doesn't really matter. But what you will see is that there is different amounts of volume of purchases coming from different parts of the map. And each of these bubbles represents a group of consumers and their consideration on what type of pack sizes would be acceptable for them. In some places you'll see very little demand, which may be because there is no demand, but it may also be because there just aren't any products in the game at the moment that actually target that sort of offering. So always be aware that the data can only tell you about people's current consumption habits. No consumer research will ever tell you what product should exist that's not already there. It's your job to come up with new ideas. Shoppers will only tell you what they think of the ones that are already there. As I say, the rest of it I leave you to explore by yourself. I find the competitor insights are very useful ones for the CEO in terms of understanding where you're winning and losing, getting a feel of category by category which company is doing well and badly, and also retailer by retailer who is winning in different places. So take the time to familiarize yourself with where do you need to win, or where is your homeland that you need to defend. If you're American beverage, Kroger appears to be really important. If you are Sleepy Vineyard, then Walmart seems to be really important. But again, these are things that you'll need to discover for yourself. So finally, we've got the manage area. So from here, you have the offices of your company. Now, each of your companies has 5 different management offices. Now, the first thing you need to do when you start the game is work out which roles different people are going to take. At the start of the game, you may find that you're getting very much fixated on one area, say on launching new brands. That is a real trap. As the game goes on, each of these areas are equally important, and you really need to have different people focused on different areas, or at least making sure that nothing gets forgotten. So if we first of all go into the CEO's office, when you first come together as a team, do take a bit of time to discuss what roles each of you actually want to play. So if you're going to be the team's CEO, then it's your job to actually set what the company's overall strategy is. It's your job to decide which categories you're going to play in, and it's your job to allocate roles to everybody else. So if you are responsible for Gaelic Brewers, you can go in and say, okay, who's going to be the CEO? Right, allocate yourself. Who's going to be your marketing director? Okay, allocate people to each of these roles. Take a bit of time to actually write what your company's mission is going to be. So, what's your vision? What's your mission? These are the things that your investors care about, so they know what it is that you're aiming to do. And also, come the end of the game, you may be wanting to actually present back, this is what we thought we would do, this is what we've done. So it's very useful to keep a record of what your initial strategy was. But most mechanically important, you need to set your category strategy. So for each of the categories, you can choose whether you want to grow, defend, milk, ignore, or exit the strategy. Now, at the start of the game, it's automatically set for you to defend any category where you already have a brand and ignore all of the others. Now, so long as that's the case, your marketing director is unable to launch any new brands. Your marketing team can only create new products in categories that you've said that you want to grow in. So, as I say, familiarize yourself with the data, and then if you've ended up saying, actually, this category is one I want to grow in, then you set it as a grow strategy and you'll see it reflected there. Now, simply saying grow has no mechanical effect on the game, but it then allows your other directors to actually make decisions. Your marketing director will be able to launch new brands in a category that the CEO has said we want to grow in. Your pricing director will be able to launch new packs, and so on and so on. So that's the CEO page. There's shortcuts to the other pages from the side here, or you can always go back to the manage page to navigate between the different directors' offices. Now, at the start of the game, we will have a quick run through how each of the different directors work. And there are also videos up here which you can go through in order to deep dive the role and mechanics of each of the different directors. So I invite you to spend a bit of time, preferably prior to the session, familiarizing yourself with it. But in essence, the main role of the marketing director is to manage the portfolio of brands that's available. So he's the guy who has the big button to launch new brands. He's also the guy who can reposition brands that are already in the market. Almost everything is interacted with through slidey bars, so you can simply say, okay, I'm going to change this brand from where it was to up and down. As you change things, you'll see that the cost to produce the product will change, and you'll also incur an innovation cost to run the project. We're going to cancel that. I'm not launching any projects. If you do decide to launch any new brands or reposition any brands, then there's a time delay between you saying I want to do it and it happening. Basically, it takes about a week of game time, which is to say a few minutes of real time for the project to take place. The marketing director also makes the decision on how much money to spend on different media channels. Again, at the start of the game, you've got great awareness of all your brands, but over time, and especially if you launch a new brand, you're going to have to work to build up awareness on any new brands that you launch in the market. So the pricing director, so if the marketing director is responsible for brands, the pricing director's job is to manage the packs that the company has in the marketplace. Now, no consumer has ever actually bought a brand. You may think, oh, I bought a BMW. Well, you haven't. Actually, what you bought is a BMW X5. Now, the X5 is the pack. So this is where the pricing director says for each brand, what different pack sizes should exist, and how much are we going to sell them for? What unit price will we charge for each of our different pack sizes? Now, again, the pricing director has this magic button to launch new packs if you think something is needed. You can only launch new packs in grow categories, though. So again, you are limited by the CEO's choice on how you can compete. You can also set prices, manage your prices on your products at any time. So you can simply go in and say, actually, you know what? 10.3, I think I can charge a little bit more than that. I'm going to try charging $12 for this pack. And basically, as soon as you change the price, it is actually changed in the virtual world. So as soon as the game starts ticking over, or when it is running in real time, you'll see at the moment the time is stopped. But when we start playing the game, as soon as you make a price change, that's instantly reflected out in the world. You change your consumer price. The retailers in this world are actually very pliant. They follow your advice, and consumers will then respond to your new price proposition. So the sales director, I'm going quickly through all of these because it's really just to make you aware that these different roles exist. The sales director is responsible for managing the relationship with each of the retailers. So just as the marketing director manages the strategy over which groups of consumers we're targeting, the sales director manages the strategy over which retail channel we're selling through. Now again, at the start, you'll see that we've got a simple strategy to defend our position with all of our retailers. Again, if you're the sales director, not all retailers are equally important. Take a bit of time to think which ones are most important, either for the products you've got or the portfolio you want to build. The sales director also sets the trade spend strategy. So at the start of the game, you'll see that you have a certain amount of money that you're spending in each retailer to get your products listed. You can increase how much you're spending or decrease how much you're spending. In real term, in the real world, you tend to talk about what percentage you're giving the retailer. In this game, it's actually simplified. You simply say to the retailer, I am guaranteeing you to make this much money, this much trade spend. And the retailer will then allocate shelf space based on who's offering him most money. So if you offer him $100 and your competitor offers him $400, he'll give far more shelf space to the player who's offering him $400. So we can also see this reflected retailer by retailer. So Amazon, we can see at the moment, we're offering $100 to him in trade terms out of a total of almost $600 that the market is offering. And based on that, he's giving us 4 placements on his shelf out of his total 18 available placements. Now, you only have 2 packs at the start of the game, so 4 is plenty, but as the game goes on and you launch more, you'll find it gets more competitive to get your products out there. Now, the other thing you can do as the sales director is manage the priority of your packs. The higher up the products are, the more likely they are to get stocked. So if Amazon would only allow 1 product, it would only take the one from the top. So for each of your retailers, you need to go through and think, what's most important? The 1 pack or the 8 pack. Whenever you launch a new product, you need to prioritize it within your mix of products that you're selling. So make sure that it gets the right retailer attention. So the last of the offices is the finance director. Now, if your team doesn't have 5 players, I would suggest your finance director is multi-hatted with one of the other roles, maybe with the CEO. The finance director is primarily there in a controlling function, overseeing everything and making sure that money isn't going in stupid places. So he has very useful charts available to him to see how we went through the P&L earlier on. There's a nice waterfall chart there to see how each of the companies in the game is spending and making money. In long versions of the game, he would also have a role in M&A activities, in deciding to buy and sell products between companies. But we don't have this turned on at the start of the game, and it may in fact never be turned on. So of all the roles, this is the one that you can most survive without. So, as I say, this is very much a quick introduction. I invite you to spend some time going through the available information at your own speed, and hopefully by the time we come on Monday, your team may already have had some thinking about what it is that you actually want to achieve as a team, how you want to work, where you want to play, and I look forward to getting down to some serious competition. So thank you very much for your time. I look forward to our session together next week. And with that, goodbye and good luck.